The birthday cake sat in the middle of the table with 19 candles burning bright. My daughter Sarah looked happy for the first time in weeks. Then my mother put down her coffee cup really hard. The sound made everyone jump. "Sarah, you're 19 now," my mother said with a big fake smile. "A grown woman." My daughter nodded and looked at me like she was scared. I stayed quiet, but I knew something bad was coming. "That means you need to start acting like a grown woman," my mother continued. She folded her arms across her chest like a teacher about to give someone trouble. My father cleared his throat and pointed his finger at Sarah. "Your grandmother is absolutely right, sweetheart. You've had a free ride long enough." Sarah's smile disappeared like someone turned off a light switch. She'd been staying with my parents for 8 months while she went to nursing school. I'm the one who asked them to let her stay. What my parents didn't know, what I made sure they would never know, was that I knew everything about their money problems. But I kept that secret locked up tight. "I'm still studying really hard, Grandma," Sarah whispered. She twisted her napkin in her hands. "I help out around the house every single day." "That's nice, dear," my mother said in a voice that wasn't nice at all. "But nice doesn't pay the electric bill. Starting in 2 weeks, we need $800 from you every month. Or you'll have to pack your bags and find somewhere else to sleep." Sarah's face turned white like she'd seen a ghost. Her bottom lip started shaking and I could see water filling up her eyes. This was exactly the kind of mean trick my mother loved to play. She did the same thing to me when I was young. She would wait until everyone was watching, then say something cruel to make you feel small and helpless. "Mom," I said super calmly like we were talking about the weather, "maybe we should talk about this in private." "There's nothing private about responsibility," my father snapped back at me. His face was getting red. "She needs to learn that life costs money. We learned that lesson when we were her age." "In 1985, I said, "when a candy bar cost 50 cents and you could rent an apartment for $300 a month." My mother waved her hand at me like she was swatting away a fly. "Always making excuses," she said. "We didn't teach you to be weak. And I won't sit here and watch you teach Sarah to be lazy and entitled." I put down my fork very slowly and looked right at my mother. "You're completely right," I said. "Let's talk about everyone's bills. Let's put all the money stuff on the table right now where everyone can see it." My mother smiled like she'd just won a prize. "Perfect," she said. "Sarah needs to understand that keeping a roof over your head takes real money." "Speaking of roofs and money," I said while reaching into my purse, "let's discuss who actually pays for this roof." I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. My father frowned so hard his eyebrows touched. "What are you talking about?" he said loudly. "We own this house. We paid it off years ago." "Did you really?" "Yes." I turned my phone screen so everyone could see it. The whole room went completely silent. You could hear the clock ticking on the wall. Sarah stared at me with her mouth open. My parents looked at each other with panic in their eyes like 2 kids caught stealing cookies. "What are you trying to say?" my mother asked. Her voice sounded sharp and mean like broken glass. I started swiping through my bank records, one after another. "This house isn't paid off at all," I said in a voice as calm as still water. "You took out a new loan in 2018 to build that fancy deck and buy that boat. Then you stopped paying in 2019 when Dad's business went bad." My father's whole face turned bright red like a tomato. "That's none of your business," he shouted while standing up so fast his chair almost fell over. "It became my business," I said without raising my voice even a little bit, "when you called me crying and begging for help because the bank was going to take your house away." Sarah gasped and put her hand over her mouth. "Grandma," she said in a tiny voice. But my mother wouldn't look at her. She just stared down at her plate like it was the most interesting thing in the world. I kept swiping on my phone, showing record after record after record. "October 2019, I said. "I paid 4 months of missing payments. That was $9,000. Then every single month since then, I pay $2,000. For 4 years now." "Stop," my mother whispered. But her voice was so quiet you could barely hear it. My father sat back down like someone had pushed him. His hands were shaking. "You had no right to tell anyone about this," he said. I had no right to save you from losing everything. Closed my banking app. You're right, Dad. I should have let them take it. How much money? Sarah asked. Her voice was stronger now. She sat up straight in her chair. Tell me the total amount, Mom. $96,000, I said. The number just hung there in the air like a dark cloud that wouldn't move. My mother's hand started shaking so bad she had to put down her coffee cup before she dropped it. We were going to tell you, she started to say. It's been 4 years, I interrupted her. 4 years of me paying while you went on vacations to the beach. Bought a new car with leather seats. Redecorated the living room 3 times. Sarah pushed her chair back from the table really hard. So when Grandma said I needed to pay rent, she said slowly, she really meant that Mom should stop paying for the house that Mom already pays for? That's exactly right, I said. My mother started crying, but they weren't real sad tears. They were angry tears. This is completely different, she said through her teeth. We're family. Sarah is also family, I said louder now. But I guess being family only matters when you need something. My father put his head down on the table like he was too tired to hold it up anymore. We thought you had plenty of money. He mumbled into his arms. I can afford it, I said clearly. But you've been using me. You've been taking my money and then acting like big shots who own everything. I kept records of everything. Every single dollar. The house payment. The property taxes. The insurance. Even the groceries I have delivered here every month so you don't starve. Why are you doing this to us? My mother cried out. Real tears were running down her face now. Because you told my baby that she had to pay rent or leave, I said quietly. Because you tried to make my 19-year-old daughter feel worthless while living in a house that I pay for. Mom, Sarah said in a small voice, why didn't you tell me about this? Because it wasn't your problem to worry about, I said looking at my daughter. And because I knew if your grandparents realized I was helping them, they might actually start being responsible for once in their lives instead of pretending to be rich. My father finally looked up. His eyes were red. What do you want from us? He asked like he was begging. I want you to say sorry to Sarah, I answered. I want you to admit that she's been wonderful since she moved here. She cleans. She cooks. She takes care of the garden. She does more than her share. And most importantly, I said standing up from my chair, I want you to understand that Sitch is not the one who should be paying rent. You are. My mother's face crumpled up like a piece of paper. We can't afford the mortgage payments, she sobbed. Not by ourselves. We'll lose everything. I know you can't afford it, I said. That's why I've been paying it. But here's what's going to change starting right now. Next month I'm going to keep making the payment. But I'm going to write it down as a loan with interest that you have to pay back. My father looked up with fear in his eyes. We can't pay back that kind of money, he said. There's no way. Then you have choices, I said calmly. You can sell this house. Move to a small apartment you can actually afford. Use the money from selling to pay me back. Or you can stay here, and when you die someday, the money you owe me gets paid first before anyone gets any inheritance. My mother made a choking sound. You're stealing our legacy, she cried. You're taking everything we worked for. I'm taking back money I loaned you, I corrected her. Money you used to look rich and act important while treating other people like they were beneath you. I closed my phone and put it in my purse. Sarah, go get your things. You're coming to live with me right now. Sarah didn't wait even 1 second. She stood up and threw her napkin on the table. Wait, my father said quickly. She doesn't have to leave. We won't charge her any rent. Promise. No, I said. She doesn't have to pay. But she also doesn't need to live with people who see her as a burden instead of a blessing. She'll stay with me until she finishes school and is ready for her own place. My mother was crying so hard she could barely breathe. Please, she begged. We didn't mean it. We were just trying to teach her about responsibility. By threatening to kick her out. Yes. That's not teaching. That's being cruel and mean. Sarah walked around the table and stood next to me. She looked at her grandparents and I could see her face had changed. She looked disappointed in them. And that look broke my heart into pieces. I washed all the dishes every single night, Sarah said in a quiet but strong voice. I scrubbed the bathrooms every Saturday morning. I did all the laundry and folded it and put it away. I pulled weeds in the garden in the hot sun. I thought I was contributing. You were contributing more than enough, I said firmly. More than they deserved. We walked toward the front door together. Behind us I could hear my mother crying and my father breathing really hard like he'd been running. One more thing, I said, turning around one last time. I'm sending you papers from a lawyer next week. Everything will be written down officially. You can sign the papers and keep the house, or you can refuse to sign and I'll stop paying immediately. Your choice. My father's voice sounded like sandpaper. How did things get this bad? Yes. Things got this bad, I said. The moment you decided that demanding money from a teenager was easier than admitting you needed help from your own daughter. Things got this bad when being proud became more important than being honest. I opened the door and felt the cool night air blow across my face. Sarah stepped outside first and I followed her, pulling the door closed behind us with a quiet click that sounded final. In my car, Sarah sat without saying anything for a long time. Then she finally spoke. Why didn't you tell me the truth? She asked. Because it wasn't your job to worry about it, I said while starting the car. That's grown-up stuff. But I'm a grown-up now, she said. Now you know what being a real grown-up looks like, I told her. It means handling hard things quietly without expecting everyone to say thank you all the time. Sarah got quiet again. Are you really going to make them sign those papers? She asked. Yes, I said. They need to learn that when you do bad things happen back. Will they sign them? Think so, I answered. Because if they don't sign, they'll lose everything they have. We drove past streetlights and houses with their windows glowing warm and yellow. Thank you, Sarah finally said, for always protecting me. That's what mothers do, I said. Always and forever. My phone started buzzing like crazy. 5 missed calls from my mother. 3 from my father. Text messages kept popping up one after another. Sarah saw them lighting up my phone. Are you going to answer? She asked. Later, I said. But not tonight. Tonight they need to sit alone and think about what they did. What happens next? Sarah asked me. I smiled at her. For you. You focus on school. Study hard. Make friends. Live your life like a normal 19-year-old. Don't worry about rent or mean grandparents who survive on someone else's kindness. We pulled into my driveway. The porch light was on and it looked warm and safe and welcoming. Home, I said to Sarah. Yeah, she said back to me with a smile. Inside, I made hot chocolate with little marshmallows while Sarah went to get her stuff from the room where she stayed during school breaks. When she came back down carrying her backpack and her pillow, she looked determined like a superhero. I want to see them, she said. The bank records. I want to see all of it. I pulled out my laptop and opened all the files, spreading them across the kitchen table like a map. Sarah looked through them carefully, her finger moving down the rows of numbers. Her eyes got wider and wider with each page. You've been doing this since I was 15 years old, she said finally with shock in her voice. Yes, I said. And did they ever say thank you? They said thank you the first few times, I admitted. Then it became something they expected. Then it became something we never talked about. Like it wasn't even happening. Sarah closed my laptop hard. I'm never going to do that, she said with fire in her eyes. Do what? Yes. Take advantage when someone is kind to me. Treat generosity like someone owes it to me. She looked at me with such strong determination. If you're going to teach me one thing about being an adult, let it be that. I pulled her into a big hug. She fit perfectly under my chin just like when she was little. You already know that, I said into her hair. You've always known that. That's why you were so scared tonight when Grandma demanded rent. You knew something was wrong. What happens now? Sarah asked, pulling back to look right into my eyes. Now, I said, I call a lawyer on Monday morning. I get everything written down on official papers. I send the papers to your grandparents and we wait to see what choice they make. And if they choose to sell the house? Sarah asked. Then they sell it, I said with a shrug. They find a place they can actually afford. And maybe, just maybe, they learn something about living within their means and treating family with respect and love. My phone rang again. This time it was a video call from my father. I looked at Sarah and she nodded that it was okay to answer. Pressed the button. My father's face filled the screen. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. His eyes had dark circles under them. Please, he said in a broken voice. Come back. Let's talk like a family should. There's nothing to talk about tonight, I said without any anger in my voice. You threatened to throw my daughter out on the street. There's no conversation that fixes that in one night. We weren't actually going to kick her out, he said weakly. Then why say it? Yes. Why make that threat? What did you think would happen? He didn't have an answer. His mouth just opened and closed like a fish. Monday, I said. I'll call you Monday after I talk to my lawyer. Until then, you and Mom need to have a serious talk about your money, your choices, and what really matters to you. I ended the call before he could say anything back. Emma was watching me carefully. You're really not going to give up, are you? She asked. No, I said firmly. I'm not. Because if I give up now, nothing changes. They'll say sorry. They'll promise to be better. And in 6 months we'll be right back here. The only difference is next time you might not call me. Next time you might just accept what they demand and struggle all alone. I would have called you, Sarah said strongly. Maybe, I agreed. But you shouldn't have to. You should be able to trust that your family won't hurt you or use you. And the only way to build that trust is to have strong boundaries that don't move. We stayed up really late that night talking about everything. Sarah told me about her nursing classes and the patient she helped at her internship. She told me about her dream of working in a children's hospital someday. She told me about the life she wanted to build and the person she wanted to become. I listened and gave advice when she asked for it. But mostly I just let her talk and feel safe. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. We'll sign whatever you want. Just please don't hate us forever. I showed the text to Sarah. Do you hate them? She asked me. No, I said, and I meant it. I'm disappointed. I'm hurt. I'm angry. But I don't hate them. They're my parents. They're people who make mistakes like everyone else. But they're still family. Even after all of this? Sarah asked. Even after all of this, I confirmed. But being family doesn't mean accepting bad treatment. Being family doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. Being family means loving people enough to hold them accountable when they mess up. Sarah nodded slowly like she was understanding something important. That's what you're doing, she said. Holding them accountable. That's exactly what I'm doing, I agreed. I typed back a short response. Monday. We'll talk Monday. Then I turned off my phone completely. I made us both more hot chocolate and we sat together in the quiet, peaceful safety of a home built on honesty instead of lies and secrets. It wasn't the happy ending my parents wanted. It wasn't the quick fix that movies always show. But it was real and it was necessary. And it was just the beginning of a new way of understanding what family actually means. What love actually means. What respect actually means. And Sarah. She learned the most important lesson of all. That sometimes the people who love you most are the ones brave enough to say a no.